My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
The Rev and The Rabbi. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Good morning. I'm Rabbi Joseph Patasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
Reverend, you and I are privileged to be here with someone we truly admire. And I've been privileged to know 3 generations of her family, going back to her grandfather, Rabbi Philip Hyatt, who was a member of the New York Board of Rabbis. And I met him when I first joined the Board of Rabbis. Of course, her parents have been longtime friends. So, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, thank you so much for being with us. And, you know, I look at your resume, Sanitation Commissioner, Police Commissioner, and I thought to myself, you must have been the person in school who took advanced calculus, physics.
Not me.
Right? I mean, you like these challenging positions. Why Police Commissioner?
Oh, so I've spent my entire career in city government. I spent 17 years of my life working for the city of New York in a number of different positions. But I started my career at the NYPD. And for me, getting up every morning, getting to work on behalf of the people of the city of New York to solve some of the city's most intractable problems, that is a fulfilling life and a fulfilling career for me.
Well, the people of the city of New York certainly feel grateful to you.
Thank you.
For the good work that you've done. Everybody wants to know, what is it that's being done that has had such a positive impact on the reduction of crime?
So we are seeing some real meaningful crime declines in New York City this year. We have shootings and shooting victims in New York City are at the lowest levels of recorded history. Murders are close to the lowest levels in recorded history. And our cops are out there on the streets every day doing real hard work. In New York City, when the heat goes up in the summer, the crime tends to go up. And so we have put thousands of additional officers who historically have worked desk jobs. We've asked them to work for the summer on the streets of the city in the places where we know that historically the violence has occurred. And that is one of the real reasons that we're seeing such incredible drops in violent crime in New York City. We're also going after guns. We have our detectives taking thousands and thousands of guns off of the street. We're about to hit 3,000 guns that we've taken off the street just this year, and that makes a meaningful difference. And the other thing we're focused on is the gangs and gang violence, because we know that gang violence drives about 60% of all of our violent crime in New York City. And so we're very focused on taking trigger pullers who are often gang members off of the streets of the city.
I am amazed to know that you can bring your background, because usually when it comes to police commissioner, it's someone who's gone through the ranks and is respected because of those accomplishments. But you're respected. And I've talked to officers on the ground. I happen to have a grandson who's in the system right now. He's in the academy. And there is, in the beginning, people have got to feel you out. It's like, okay, let's see what she's like, where she's coming from, what does she understand about our culture. But you've done well acclimating yourself to the culture and at the same time beginning to change the culture. That's difficult. That's not easy to change a culture that took, decades to create. How is that for you?
So I actually started my career at the NYPD. A lot of people don't realize that. I spent the first 12 years of my career working inside the New York City Police Department in counterterrorism. I ran IT for about 8 years. And I left for a few years to run IT for the city and to run the sanitation department. But really coming back to the NYPD felt like a homecoming for me of sorts. I deeply believe in the nobility of policing. And as someone who has made my career as a bureaucratic manager, someone who knows how to bust through bureaucracy. It is both my honor and my pleasure to serve not only the people of the city of New York, but also our 34,000 uniformed members of the service, to get them the tools, the resources, and the support that they need to do their most important work.
And I think that makes a difference when the officers feel supported. That's a big deal because it helps them on the ground when they're policing to know that, the commissioner, the PC, has their back, but at the same time is holding them accountable.
Absolutely. And in any profession, in any business, in any organization, accountability is so important. And one of the things that I am known for in my career, wherever I work, is to bring a sense of accountability to that organization. So we've really pressed hard in some of those accountability areas on, for example, police discipline, working with our Civilian Complaint Review Board to make sure that we are holding our officers accountable if and when they step out of line or beyond the bounds of what they're asked to do. But everything that I do as police commissioner comes from a deep respect for the nobility of the profession of policing.
I love the way you articulate that, Rabbi.
It's going to be infuriating, and I've heard some of your comments over the years. It's going to be infuriating when you make the arrests, and we read in the paper this person has a rap sheet, and the person is released. I was in a drugstore recently talking to one of the employees, and he says, it's the same shoplifters who are coming in and perpetrating these crimes. Police take them away, and then we see them right back in the store.
Yeah. In New York State, we changed most of our criminal justice laws that went into effect in January 1st, 2020. And while those reforms were well-intentioned, some of those reforms created major loopholes that have rendered our criminal justice system a revolving door for recidivists. I mean, one of the laws that was changed made it so that if you were a violent criminal, your case would be dismissed based on a minor technicality that had absolutely no bearing on the underlying determination of what the case otherwise would have been. And so we saw an explosion in recidivism in New York City over the past 5 years since those laws were changed. In some categories, for example, felony assault, burglary, larceny, if we define recidivism as the same person committing the same crime 3 times in the same year, in those categories, we're at 100% above the levels of recidivism that we were at in 2019, the year before the laws changed.
So what can people do? People hear this. They're furious. They're saying...
They should be.
Yeah. What more can they do? Just how do they hold their leaders accountable?
So they're furious, but the cops, imagine being a police officer. You spend your whole day making an arrest of someone who has committed a violent or bad crime against another person. And before you are done with your paperwork, before you are going home at the end of your shift, that person that you have arrested is back at the precinct picking up their property and going home before you do. Imagine how demoralizing that is. So one of the things that we have been doing really under Mayor Adams's leadership is pushing our leaders up in Albany pretty hard to make sensible changes to the criminal justice laws that exist in New York State. We've also worked very closely with the governor. I'm pleased to report that this year we made some meaningful progress on one of those laws, the discovery law, which was recently changed. And so my hope and expectation is that as these laws start to be changed and reformed, that we'll see the rates of recidivism going down. But it's not just about our lawmakers. Our DAs also have to make sure that they are prosecuting the cases that our officers are bringing them.
Just touch on the discovery law because there's a lot of controversy around that. We had one of our shows that we talked about it. Just explain that to our listeners.
Sure. I was talking about it a bit before. The discovery laws in New York City were changed in 2019. It went into effect in 2020. And it made it so that people who commit crimes could get off just based on minor technicalities that had no bearing on the otherwise the disposition of that case. And so those laws, or that discovery law, was changed this year with the support of the governor through the state budget. And so my hope and my expectation is that we will start to see the rates of recidivism in New York City come down as a result. Too early to tell, but there were some meaningful changes.
So we have to go to a break right now, but I want to just ask a follow-up question to that when we come back from the break. Stay tuned for more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on 77
WABC.
Red Apple Network.
The Rev and the Rabbi on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
The Rev and the Rabbi. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
And we are speaking with the 48th Commissioner of the City of New York, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
So back to discovery laws. When you talk about discovery, you're talking about sharing of information, right, about the perpetrator. There's one set of information that would go to, let's say, the prosecutor, right? And if that information is shared too soon, doesn't that affect the outcome of the case?
Not so much. I don't really buy that argument. The problem for me with the discovery law, which was recently changed, was that we would, if we forgot to hand over a piece of paper that had absolutely nothing to do with the substance of the case, some random piece of information, the case would just get tossed. And judges were obligated to toss the cases. And so the defense bar was weaponizing these laws to look for things that we mistakenly forgot to hand over, even if it had no bearing on the underlying case.
Yeah, I appreciate your clarification because there was so much misinformation around that. And, of course, the NYPD was getting the short end of that stick because you're getting the blame. So thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner, let me ask you, obviously, being in your position, you have to make some very painful decisions. And sometimes all of us in positions of leadership wrestle between being tough and being nice, being popular and being principled. How do you deal with that? Because on the one hand, you want people to like you, respect you. On the other hand, you got to look in the mirror and saying, I did what I thought was right for the people of the city.
That's an easy one for me. I, throughout my career, have always tried very hard to make the principled decision on every item that comes across my desk. And frankly, that's the only way you make it through 17 years in city government with a pretty squeaky clean record. I report to the mayor, and I work on behalf of the people of the city of New York. And so what is best for the people of the city of New York is always 100% of the time what guides me in decisions that I make, be they small or large.
Is there a difference between the broken windows theory and quality of life initiative?
Yes. So in New York City, we got so much feedback from people that even though the crime rate is coming down, they still don't feel safe. And that's because, in my opinion, there are so many quality of life issues in New York City. It doesn't matter what borough, what neighborhood you live in. The quality of life issue may vary from neighborhood to neighborhood, but one thing that is consistent across New York City is there are quality of life issues. Those could be e-bikes careening through a crosswalk, or unruly vending, or unreasonable noise, or homeless encampments. And so we created a new quality of life division to make our cops more responsive to quality of life complaints that come in through 311. In much the same way historically they have been super responsive to 911 calls for service. But I want to be very clear that this is very different than the type of broken windows policing that we did in New York City in the early 1990s. And that is because the impetus here, the reason for doing it, is literally to correct the condition. It is not to look for underlying offenses as a pretense to going after more serious crime or violation. It is literally about correcting the condition that is leading to a quality of life concern on a street or in a neighborhood.
You put the people first. You say that you're here for the people of New York City, and you have the challenge of balancing the dual demand of reform along with maintaining public safety. How do you address that?
Well, I think reform has been important at the New York City Police Department. It always is. But when I walked into this job, there were some questions and some scandal that was beleaguering the department. And I am known as a reformer. So I came in, we replaced out a lot of people on our executive staff at the police department. I installed a new chief of internal affairs who's taking that function quite responsibly. We put in controls to get our overtime under control at the department. We changed the way that we do some of the disciplinary stuff at the NYPD. And I don't think that reform and bringing a sense of accountability is at odds with supporting our police. I think any organization needs that. And so in time, I think organizations grow to accept and appreciate that type of reform.
That's excellent.
You look at some of the young offenders. Is there a general composite sketch that you can draw? Are there people who, come from a broken home, don't have role models? It's when you see someone who's 11 or 12 years old carrying a gun, committing a crime, you say to yourself, wow, when I was 10 or 11, that was unthinkable.
Yeah, I'm glad you raised this, because although we are seeing some incredible crime declines across the city, one area where we are seeing an explosion in crime is juvenile or youth crime. That means crime committed in New York City by people under the age of 18. One of the criminal justice laws that we changed in 2020 were the laws around how we deal with youth in the criminal justice system in New York State. And unfortunately, I believe that law had the unintended consequence of creating virtually a consequence-free environment for young kids committing crime in New York City. And so what we see is gang members are now attracting younger and younger kids to carry the guns for them, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, because they know that if they are caught, there are much less severe consequences for them. So one of the laws that we have to look at in New York State still is that raise the age law, because we know that when kids commit crimes, oftentimes the victims are other kids. We have seen a 100% increase in the number of kids arrested for shootings and in the number of kids who are shooting victims since those laws were changed in 2019.
Wow. You know, Commissioner, I think about the challenge that you have responding to the data. And the data states where the concentration of crime is taking place in the city. And sometimes that means underserved communities, marginalized communities, communities of color. And that's the reality. And yet you can take heat for saying, well, we have to do more for those communities. How do you respond to the reality that these are areas of concentrated crime activity, and at the same time, you have to build relationship with these communities so they trust you in order to police these communities?
We do have to build relationships with those communities, and we work at that every day. The most important thing is that all communities across the city have trust and confidence in the police, and in particular, those communities where we are seeing the most violence. Because in order to address the violence, we have to send more and more cops into those neighborhoods. That's how we bring the crime down. One thing that I've been pleased with is as we have flooded some of those streets where we're seeing the most violence with cops, by the law-abiding members of those neighborhoods, they welcome the extra police presence. And that has been a very real thing this summer. When I go to visit those neighborhoods, I get thanks from so many community members for the influx of police that they have seen this summer and the decrease in violence. It's making their streets safer.
You don't hear defund police.
No.
Thank God.
Yeah. By the way, let me just say this. I told this to Rev off air last week. I am personally, as a Jew and professionally as a rabbi, very proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you for this reason. We have the Jewish Heritage Night at Gracie Mansion, as other groups have their heritage evenings. Commissioner gets up, and you expect to hear about progress that's being made, and suddenly she delves into the Torah portion of the week. This is what we're going to be. And now, this is on a Wednesday, talking about what's going to be read on a Saturday, because everybody's good at talking about what was read last week because they heard that already. This is the coming week. And I thought to myself, you got to be damn good. You got to be really proud of your tradition to be able to get up. And you have spoken very, very affectionately of your roots. And you're also proud of others, because I know how you interact with people of different faith traditions. We had you at the Cardinals' residence. Just talk about for a moment as a person of faith approaching this position and being in this position.
Thank you for that. Yes, I am a person of faith, and that is certainly not something that I leave at the door when I show up to work. It shapes how I lead, how I serve, how I carry the weight of this job, and there is a lot of weight of this job. But I believe deeply in the power of responsibility, of justice, dignity. Those are all moral principles that affect my professional life. They're all things you read about and learn about in the Talmud. So yes, my faith really does inform how I lead.
Yeah, and we believe in 100% the relationship between religion, faith, and what happens in the public square. So thank you for being who you are. It's been a pleasure interacting with you on several occasions and having you on the program.
Yeah. And the next job? No, you don't have to answer that. We just want you to. We want you here. We want you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. And stay tuned for more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on Red Apple Radio Network.
The Rev and the Rabbi on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Jif peanut butter. It's that Jiffing good. It doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. Jif. Ooh, it's that Jiffing good. Get your Jif at Jif.com.
As a sports fan, I have to confess. Sometimes the game gets kind of boring. That's when I unfold my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 and use multi-window viewing on its large screen. Boring game? I'm checking out my fantasy baseball league at the same time. Score still 1-0? I'm replying to emails in the other window, scoring points with the boss. Semifinals finally getting exciting? I'm buying tickets to the finals and booking my flights. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com. The Rev and The Rabbi. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasky.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard. So, Rabbi, we switch up on who introduces the guest. Mm-hmm. We had a wonderful opportunity with our police commissioner. And now we have pastor, author, and Christian Zionist activist.
Oh, I like that.
Okay, I figured you would like that.
Emphasize the Zionist.
Yeah, of course. Pastor Victor Styrsky is actually associated with CUFI, Christians United for Israel. We met through a friend of mine by the name of Jim Garlow and his organization. And you and I started to talk about this because John Hagee and their recent meeting, which Victor attended. Pastor, how do you want us to address you?
Victor is fine. You can leave all the titles off, but what a joy to be with both of you today.
Well, we're glad to have you on the program. So,
thank you.
First of all, just tell us about your congregation, because you're pastoring in Florida, correct?
I am. I just recently left almost 18 years working with Pastor Hagee. I met him. I was speaking for AIPAC about 17, 18 years ago. That's where I was first taught, really, Zionism on a political level. And I didn't really know Pastor, but we met for a couple of minutes. He told me I was meeting him because God wanted me to work for him. I assured him that was not the truth. I 3 times I thanked him for the offer, and I worked for him for the next 18 years. So no means nothing to Pastor Hagee.
I get it. I understand that.
Yeah. Kufa had just begun that week, had a couple hundred people. And when I left a little less than 2 years ago, finishing, I felt all I could do, we had grown to 11 million.
So let's talk about this love relationship between evangelicals and Israel, that you would form an organization, which John Hagee did, CUFI, about 20 years ago, correct? It's been up and running for about 20 years.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So tell us about the organization.
Remember when you first gave me the title, Understanding the Evangelical Support for Israel, I was thinking if I could tweak that title just a little bit and then give you about a minute and 35-second response. Mm-hmm. I only say that because a Christian university asked me to speak and give a lecture that I would have 3 hours, and I didn't come close to finishing. So if it sounds like I'm not going to stop, you press a button when you touch this. And in my life, I've been an activist for Israel and the Jewish people since 1981. We can visit that later. But I'd like to call it understanding, instead of the evangelical support for Israel, understanding why some evangelicals support the nation of Israel, because there's many who call themselves evangelical Christians, but they don't reflect the definition of what it means to be one. So thank you for introducing me as a Christian Zionist. and here goes my minute and 40 seconds. Zionism, we believe, is simply a belief that the Jewish people are the indigenous people of the land of Israel and have the legal right to live in their ancestral homeland. A Christian Zionist, and as one, I believe that the miraculous rebirth of the nation of Israel is proof that God's land covenant with Abraham and repeated to Isaac, Jacob, and their descendants, plural, includes a regathering of the Jewish people back to the land he gave them. It's also, I believe, and we believe, irrefutable evidence that because of the patriarchs, the Jewish people remain dearly beloved to God as his gifts, and calling upon them are irrevocable. That's from the New Testament, Rabbi. You may not recognize it, but that's Paul speaking.
Wait. Did you took that from us? You took that from us? Is that another sentence you took from us?
Old Testament verse that we wrote. Okay.
That's the Apostle Paul that writes that last piece in the New Testament. I end with this. Christian Zionists also recognize that the entirety of our Christian faith has been given to us through the Jewish people. We read a Jewish Bible, including the Tanakh, Old Testament, for my Gentile listeners. I am a Gentile, with every word written by a Jew other than Luke and Acts, every patriarch, every matriarch, every prophet, every apostle, the first family of our faith, Mary, Joseph, Jesus, they're all Jews. As I like to say, John the Baptist was not a Baptist.
Yeah.
And lastly, Christian Zionists believe we honor God by honoring the people he chose as the smallest of the nations to be his unique and personal treasure, his segula, a people he calls his firstborn, the apple of his eye, the inheritors of eternal promises he made to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the people he then burdens to bring the knowledge of the one true God to the stiff-necked, rebellious, Gentile, pagan world. Rabbi, Christian Zionists believe that standing with you and your people and supporting the nation of Israel is nothing less than the Kiddush Hashem, is a sanctifying of the name of God.
So I have two questions. Elevator pitch. I think the elevator went through the roof on that one.
Yeah, look, I'm just saying,
we passed the top floor.
Listening to all the things that
Rabbi is in the studio taking a bow and has got a big smile on
all
his
these
face,
things.
listening
By the way,
to you.
To both of you, come back. You
right,
don't have to form a separate franchise. Come back.
But I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
You said that they have a legal right, but granted by whom?
Well, if God, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness of it, as we believe, and so having been in real estate for 15 years, he's got the right to give any chunk of land he wants to anyone he wants. But to take it, and again, we train hundreds of college students, thousands, and high school students now. We had hundreds of them at the CUFI DC Summit, my 20th summit in a row. We will train them up in the religious views, but we don't give them those to argue on campus. We give them the political and the historic views. The Chinese have a right to live in China, and we give the Japanese a right to live in Japan. Italians, from what I hear,
what if I don't subscribe to your interpretation of the Old Testament? Suppose I don't subscribe to the Bible. I don't recognize that authority to grant Israel the right. Now, of course, I'm being a little, devil advocate here because I support the nation of Israel. But there are those who would ask that question.
We do not train our college students and now high school students, CUFI and high school. We don't train them to use religious arguments on campus. Mm-hmm. We train them in the historic and the legal aspects of how this world works and the political aspects. Those are the tools they use. The religious aspects gives them a firm foundation, and they will not be moved. You can spit on them, and they get spit on. Yeah. You can challenge them in the parking lots, and they do. You can threaten them. Teachers reduce their grades on papers, and you can do that. Their religious truth is their foundation, but the weapons they use are historic and political, and they're very effective. Israel's the only nation that's treated in such a way different than any other nation on earth.
Reverend, firstly, thank you. It is inspiring to hear your steadfast commitment to the people of Israel, the land of Israel, and we need allies. And one of the things that's happening today is there are those who have walked away from us. What I find extremely painful is when I see those who try to separate Zionism from Judaism, that one can be pro-Jewish, at the same time can be anti-Zionist. Now, you know very well in our liturgy, we pray for Israel. Israel is an integral part of our religion, of our peoplehood. So those who separate it are really violating, a tenet of our tradition that says that we are both, the people of Israel and the people of Judaism.
Absolutely, you are. And if they are separating themselves, as your quote friends often do, with you find in every generation the Vehisha Amda, not only one arose to kill us, but in every generation they arise to destroy us. But blessed be the Holy One who delivers us from them all. And you find that in every generation. Yeah. I'm not suggesting you get used to it, but it's not unusual. It happens in every generation. I love what the great Jewish journalist Charles Krauthammer, who was a great friend of Kufi. Yeah. He knew nothing about us. He was a little concerned, as the Jewish people have a right to be, being that for 2,000 years we've been killing the Jewish people, and we can address that at some point. But Charles Krauthammer, of blessed memory, said the following. He came to a D.C. summit, cried through much of it, and when he spoke, he said, Israel is the very embodiment of the Jewish people. It's the only nation on earth that inhabits the same land, bears the same name, speaks the same language, worships the same God that it did 3,000 years ago. You dig the soil, you find pottery from Davidic times, coins from Bar Kokhba, 2,000-year-old scrolls written in a script remarkably like the one that today advertises ice cream at the corner candy store. You take the stripes from a zebra, you can't. It's a zebra. You can't separate the two. People that do were never your friends, Rabbi.
Yeah. We're going to take a break.
Yeah, we got to take a break.
But when I come back, I want to ask you, you know that over the years, well, I'm a great admirer of Kufi. There are those who have been hesitant to embrace because they feel there's an ulterior motive. But let's talk about that.
We'll talk about that when we come back. So stay tuned for more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on Red Apple Radio Network.
The Rev and the Rabbi on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Learning through play starts with Lego Duplo. With Lego Duplo, toddlers can develop real-life skills while having fun with colorful bricks made just for them. Large, easy to grip, and safe to explore. When children express themselves with Lego Duplo, they build patience, problem-solving, and empathy. See your child learn perseverance and self-expression with everything they imagine and create. Visit lego.com/preschool to learn more.
Got some good news for your ears. More of that good stuff is coming up. And even better news for your hair. The best hair care is at Sephora. They've got all kinds of products for every kind of hair. From brands like Amika, Kerastase, Day, and K18. You knew where to get great audio. Now, you know where to get great hair care, too. Sephora. Good news for great hair. Shop hair care now at Sephora.com.
It's back to school season, and Clorox is donating 2 million disinfecting wipes to classrooms across America. Because back to school means things can get a little bit messy. Just ask second grade teacher Mr. Torres.
Put me and just one Clorox wipe on a team, we can take on crayon smudges, sticky fingerprints on every surface, sneezes on the door handle, juice box explosion by the sink, snack crumbs, and don't even get me started on the bathroom passes.
Clorox disinfecting wipes. Teacher's #1 wipe.
Think about it. Bathroom passes.
Clean feels good. Based on unit sales data.
The Rev and the Rabbi. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Styrsky.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
Rev, before we start question, I was amazed by something that our guest said, Reverend Victor, that he's in Florida. The Jewish state of Florida, has allowed the Reverend to have a position there. That's very, very comforting. So, there's been this kind of skepticism at times where people have said, no, they love us too much. They want something from us. there is some strategy going on here that's not totally sincere. They want to convert us. They want the Jews all together so that their prophecy will be fulfilled. Talk about all of that.
Yeah, let me zero in on that with Rabbi, because many evangelicals who do support Israel, they subscribe to dispensationalism and this notion that there is an eschatological reference to Israel, and that's why they're paying close attention to what happens in that particular land. But that eschatology...
But what is that reference, though? The Jews are gathered?
Well, that's just it. It points to this end-time gathering of Jewish people who will experience this mass conversion to Christianity, and that is their push. Now, I heard John Hagee, in his speech at the last CUFI meeting, say specifically that that's not his motive. That's not the agenda. How do you respond to our questions?
Pastor and Rabbi, we don't know what we don't know. And the weak link in Christian Zionism, and I preached it at CUFI for 18 years. I was the National Educational Outreach Director. I also had 18 states I covered. I was traveling 200,000 miles a year and seeing my wife about half the time. And she's a Zionist. It did not hurt our marriage, but I missed her. And so that's one of the reasons I finished my work there. We don't know what we don't know. If out of the 11 million Christian Zionists of CUFI, if 200 of them have close Jewish friends like you and like I do, I'd be surprised. It's the weak link. Christians don't know Jews, and because they don't know the history of the Jewish people. More importantly, they don't know the abomination of the history of Christendom and the Jew. My Christian friends who will say, well, those people weren't Christians. Well, I'm sorry, sure they were. Becoming a Christian does not mean you don't sin. Martin Luther was praised by Hitler in Mein Kampf 3 times as a great reformer and used by him as propaganda. But this is what happened to Pastor Hagee. He knew nothing of the Jewish people, and he went to Israel many years ago, and he felt like God spoke to him. He started reading. He's a voracious reader. And some of the books he read, I then followed up with The Anguish of the Jews, 23 Centuries Anti-Semitism, incredible book. The Revolt by Menachem Begin, and on you learn this history. The Jewish hesitancy with us is called wisdom. This has never worked out. This has never worked out in the history of our two faiths. I have the great honor of speaking at shuls, at synagogues, Reformed occasionally, but mainly more the Orthodox, even just recently in Boca Raton, I have Jewish friends who used to own a little franchise called the Boston Celtics. I don't know if you know of them.
I do. I'm from Boston.
Victor, please don't go there, Victor.
Victor, now you're talking faith. Now you're talking religion.
Most of his life, and he's a Boston fan.
Boston strong.
You just hit a chord, Victor. Please don't go there. Anyway, you were saying.
Talk about a tenet of my faith.
You were saying.
Oh, my God. I'm dropping names because they have a little influence in their community, and none of their friends had ever heard of a Christian that cared for them or Zionism. They had me come, and I've been doing this throughout my life, but I spoke at 3 synagogues and 2 Jewish gatherings, and we weep from beginning to end because they've never had a real Christian evangelical Zionist in the Rome. And when it comes to conversion, very, very quickly, I spoke back in Oakland, California at the Orthodox synagogue. Rabbi was a dear friend, and he had me speak. And I talked about conversion, first of all, and I said, look, I've been a pastor 30, 40 plus years. I've never converted a soul. Conversion is the work of God's Spirit and God alone. If it's through a burning bush, he speaks through a donkey. As a Christian, I believe a Jew came that fulfilled the requirements of Messiah, but that's God's work. I've never converted anyone. A sweet woman in the front row raises her hand. I said, yes, sister. She goes, well, you seem like a nice enough young man. Perhaps you should get into a different occupation. I laughed. I said, well, possibly so. My point is I've never converted anyone. Yeah. If people ask me, I speak. I tell them my story. At APAC, I spoke for them for years. They'd always say, you have to tell them your story. Tell them your story, how you were a rock and roll guitar player and you became a lover of the Jewish people. That's called my testimony. If I'm not asked, I leave it on the shelf. I believe I've lost the right to preach at the Jews, having been part of a religious community that has slaughtered them for 2,000 years.
But Victor, what about the theology, the dispensational theology?
This is the second part. The first one was conversion. Mm-hmm. The second one is the theology. we get the thoughts of the Jewish people being brought back to the land of Israel. We get that from the prophets, not from Revelation or anyone else. We get that from the prophets, and the truth of seeing this happen in our own lifetime. The easiest burden to remove from the Jewish people is this notion, and I've heard it for 40 years, that we're doing this because we believe that the Jews have to be in Israel before Messiah comes, as you had said the other day, first time, second time, we'll know that this is why we're doing it, to get you all back into Israel. This is the easiest one to unburden you with, and that's from the book of Matthew. Jesus is sitting with his disciples, and they ask him, when are all these things going to happen? And what will be the sign of your coming? And he answers them, as for the hour and the day, no one knows it. Not even the angels in heaven, not even the Son. Only Hashem, only the Father knows it.
But you understand, Victor, why the Jewish people would question motives because of some of the theology.
I started at the beginning saying that.
Yeah.
Well, it's never worked. This has never worked for them. There's got to be another shoe. It's not.
All right. Before we run out of time, because we only got 11 minutes.
I've never met anybody, by the way, who's converted by an evangelical.
Well, no, he's right. I understand what he's saying, but that people will point to the theology as the motivation behind it. I've got to ask you, very important, especially with what's happening with people taking sides with the Palestinians versus the Jews and vice versa. How do you see the state of Israel, the political state of Israel? Is that sanctioned by God, or is the universal identity of the Jew sanctioned by God based upon Old Testament scripture?
Well, I would have to say both. You and I both believe that kings are brought down and brought into power by the hand of God. When it comes to the current and all the past problems in the Middle East, currently known as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I say the following, and I mean it with all my heart. Just as during World War II, the blood of every single innocent young man, young woman, boy, girl, adult, the blood of every innocent person in World War II is fully on the head of Hitler and the Nazis. So the blood of every innocent Jew and Gentile in the Middle East, Palestinian, all throughout the area, is upon Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran. If they were to give the hostages back today, the war would end, and on October 6th, there was no such war going on. It is extremely important for people to say that and say that again and again and again.
And look back at all of the offers that have been made over the years.
Yeah, over time.
And they were rejected. They were rejected by Palestinian, so-called Palestinian leadership. So I just want to say something to you and the Rev. A disconnect. I look at studies that have been taken of the unaffiliated, and they're always alarming because of rising numbers of unaffiliated. And I'll walk into the Christian Cultural Center, Reverend Bernard's church, and I've been to a number of evangelical churches in the state, and they're packed and growing. And I'm saying, wait a minute, the study says we're getting more unaffiliated. My eyes are saying, look at all the people who are clamoring to get in to the house. So what is going on?
He wants to know, what are we doing?
The study.
What are we doing? He wants to know the secret sauce.
You're not in the
Victor.
study.
That's what he wants to know, the secret sauce.
Well, the secret sauce, Rabbi, is you and your people. We do believe that those that bless the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob will be blessed, and those who esteem them lightly is actually the Hebrew word. Those who esteem them lightly will be cursed. And there is a blessing upon all these churches, big and small, that support the nation of Israel and protect the Jewish people. Could I end with Psalm 126 very quickly to get back to Rabbi, if that's okay?
We got a minute. We got a minute left. Go ahead.
Here we go. Psalm 126. When Adonai delivered the captives from Zion, they came home, but they were in a dream. Their mouths were filled with song and their tongues with shouts of joy. And then the Goyim said, Adonai has done great things for you. Rabbi, one of the When have the Goyim, when have the Gentiles gathered around you and said, give me a J, give me an E, give me a W? When have they ever come around and said, do you not remember who your God is?
Yeah.
It's happening now, Rabbi.
Yeah, we need
it's
more.
Happening now.
We need more.
Yeah. Seriously, though, thank you for your passion for this and, what you've committed your life to over time and, placing your own home and family in jeopardy.
So, Rev, what is it you're doing?
Both
Revs. What is it you're doing that seems to be, this recipe for success that others...
We're believing the Scripture.
But so do the others.
We're believing the Scripture. When it comes to relationships, when it comes to God's universal plan for humanity, and we understand our role and how we play our part in it.
You're doing it well.
Yeah, thank you. Victor, you are amazing. Thank you so much. I hope this is not the last time we have you on the program, but it was absolutely fun. You represented well. And thank you for what you're doing to stand with the Jewish people.
And we're very fortunate to have friends who stand with us, especially during these times. And Kufai and so many others have proven your love and loyalty. Thank you.
Absolutely. God
Rabbi,
bless you.
You have millions of us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in another Sunday for another episode with a dynamic duo. This time, 2 Revs and a Rabbi, but only today. Only today.
Outnumbered.
Yeah. We wish you all the best in Jewish tradition. Shalom. Right? Did I get that right?
You said that well.
Rabbi?
That was great.
Okay.
Great.
And in our Christian tradition, we wish you grace and peace. God bless.
Thanks for listening to The Rev and The Rabbi. You can hear The Rev and The Rabbi Sunday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?